to the next person, and that is Honorable Samuel Nati George.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the 2024 message of the State of the Nations addressed by President Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, on page 4 of the statement, the President spoke about elections being the basis of democracies, and that he was committed to free, fair, and peaceful elections. Mr. Speaker, it comes as a shock to me to hear the President address this House and speak about free, fair, and peaceful elections. This is the President who superintended over the death of 8 innocent and armed Ghanaian citizens in 2020 for his re-election. Never in the history of our country has any election seen the death at the hand of state agencies or state agents, but under the President Akufo-Addo. And so the President's silence for 4 years on the death of 8 Ghanaian citizens cannot be overlooked. Mr. Speaker, on page, the President says that the Attorney General has saved Ghana 10 trillion Ghana cedis in judgment debts. Once again, I am shocked at how the President can draw such a conclusion. The President is simply looking at the summation of claims in court cases that have been made. Some of these court cases are frivolous. In one of the cases, a judgment debt of 200 million was claimed. It was finally settled for 28,000 Ghana cedis. So the fact that the President has just aggregated all of this and says that they've saved 10 trillion at a time when the President's own Attorney General, based on poor legal judgment and based on political malice, terminated a contract at GNPC and has cost us $120 million in judgment debt. That has led to a garnishee order against Ghanaian properties. The President is talking about saving 10 trillion. The President clearly does not understand the state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, on page 10, the President refers to Dr. Bawumia, who has self-described himself as a mate, as Dr. Digitization, and goes on to praise Dr. Bawumia, and shockingly, the President says he's a performance tracker to be launched in March. Well, let me remind Mr. President. Mr. President and the NPP administration, you have a horrible record when it comes to trackers and performance trackers. Because, Mr. Speaker, on the 18th of August 2020, barely 3 months to the 2020 election, this same NPP government, led by President Akufo-Addo, launched a tracker called the Delivery Tracker. Mr. Speaker, I beg members of Parliament in this chamber and Ghanaians watching us on our Facebook page to please take your phones, your laptops, and go to the web address of the Delivery Tracker that was launched on the 18th of August 2020 by the NPP government. The address is www.deliverytracker.gov.gh. www.deliverytracker.gov.gh. The website is dead. There is nothing on the website. That is the of President Akufo-Addo. He launched a delivery tracker before the 2020 election. It is dead. Now they are coming to resurrect another performance tracker. That is dead on arrival. We remember your record with COVID-19 tracker. Absolutely of no value to the Ghanaian people. So when the President comes here to tell us that Dr. Bawumia is the solution to Ghana's problem, well, Dr. Bawumia is the problem of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, again on that page, the President talks about Agenda 111. And I asked myself, the same Agenda 111 that the President cut short for on the 17th of August 2021 with a promise that all the facilities, the 111 hospitals, will be completed in 12 months. I don't know the kind of calendar that the NPP administration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is using, such that since the 17th of August 2021, today is the 5th of March 2024, we still haven't had 12 months of your administration. Well, let me at this juncture invite members of Parliament and Right Honourable Speaker. Tomorrow is a public holiday. but I would want to, on behalf of government, invite you to the commissioning of the National Cathedral. It was advertised by the former Finance Minister, now Finance Minister for International Affairs, that the National Cathedral will be commissioned on the 6th of March 2020. And so I would love to see Honorable KT Hammond and Honorable Afenyo Makin at that commissioning. Mr. Speaker, on page 11, the President again speaking about digitization says that they have done interoperability. Mr. President, don't be misled and don't boldly come stand before the world and expose painfully the incompetence of your handlers. Who says that before the NPP there was no interoperability in Ghana? Before the NPP came into office, people could send money from MTN to Vodafone. You had a token, and you take that token to the vendor, and you are paid your money. If you say you brought in interoperability, the question we ask is, how then do you say you Ghana money on a contract that existed? In the real fact is, you didn't save Ghana any money. That contract was a contract that was at zero cost to the state. It was supposed to be run BOOT at zero cost to the state. No, you see, Honorable KT Hammond, that's the problem of the NPP. You don't contracts, you don't read to understand, because the contract was for the value of the contract. When you are doing a BOOT, you value the lifespan of the contract before the transfer is done. The value of the contract over 10 years, transactions over 10 years was 1.4 billion, not the cost the Bank of Ghana was supposed to pay. I've come into government and paid somebody $5 million for something that would have cost us zero. You have rather occasioned financial estate. Mr. Speaker, let me even deflate the talk about DVLA, health, and the President briefly came to stand here and say that because of NPP, you can move from one hospital to another, and then you get your details shown. Mr. Speaker, I am going to read from the World Bank. Under President Mahama, President Mahama secured funding from the World Bank for a program called the Ghana Transform Project. Mr. Speaker, this is what the World Bank says on its website. The development objective of the e-Transform Project for Ghana is to improve the efficiency and coverage of government service delivery using ICT. The project has 4 components. The first component is enabling environment for electronic government and business. The second component, Mr. Speaker, has to do with storage and opening up of government data, support for innovation centers and entrepreneurship. The third component, Mr. Speaker, has to do with preparing Ghana for a modern e-commerce industry, improve e-government services, and alleviate poverty. This has 2 sub-components. 1, support for the National Electronic Identification System, which is called Ghana Card. 2, support for digitization and integration of digital identity and verification systems into user agency components. All of this. So, Mr. Speaker, whilst you were here as majority leader, you saw the digitization of Parliament, e-Parliament. We saw the e-health. President Mills built new Supreme Court building, and under Honorable Haruna, Communications Minister, started the digitization. The High Court, the new High Court, the court complex opposite GR along the John Vansata Mills Highway. And Honorable Haruna Idrisu, as Communication Minister, started digitization of court records. This is known. E-health started under Omani. The records are there. But Mr. Speaker, the President on page 7 said that tomorrow we celebrate our 67th independence anniversary. And it is under the theme, our democracy, our pride. And I sit here and ask myself, what is the state of our nation? Are we proud of our democracy? Because, Mr. Speaker, when the President looks at us as a nation and tells us that he is concerned about the so-called friends of Ghana, and for that reason, the sovereignty of this parliament is being called into question, relative to the family values bill that passed. Mr. Speaker, I am truly worried the kinds of friends the President keeps. Because the President, Mr. Speaker, my friends will not blackmail me. My friends will not blackmail me with money. So if we are being told that today, and if you read the President's statement, he says that he is giving the friends of Ghana assurance that he is not going to hasten to assent to a bill that this sovereign parliament has passed on representing the will of the Ghanaian people. It leaves me with just one quote that I will read with your permission from Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey says, "The Negro who lives on the patronage of philanthropists is the most dangerous member of our black society, because he is willing to turn back the clock of progress when his doctors ask him to do so. If the Negro is not careful, he will drink in all the poison of modern civilization and die from the effects of it." Mr. Speaker, let us urge our president to be mindful of imperialism.
Honourable Member, your time is up.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker.